You done
Okay.
made me get the red
Hold up.
light.
Tea time, it's tea time, it's tea time. It's tea time, it's tea time. Tia Williams.
Hey, you guys, it is Wednesday. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And you know that Wednesdays equal tea time. If this is your first time tuning into Tea Time with Tia, I am Tia Williams. I created Tea Time with Tia as a platform for me to empower you to be free as I spill my tea. I share my testimonies on how I overcame real life situations using kingdom principles. What are kingdom principles, you ask? They're simply God's way of doing things. Principles work for anyone, anywhere, anytime, and under any circumstances. Come on, isn't that good news? I think it's excellent news. Okay, you guys, so I am so excited about today's Tea Time with Tia topic. I was doing some thinking, right? And over the last couple of months, I really started to ask myself, how much do I understand men? Being a wife and a mother of three sons, I realized quickly that we do not think the same. I mean, I really want to bridge the gap in our communication with our men audience, right? So, and I even thought about it like, maybe even up until now that I never really had, held men at a high regard, right? I always felt like I didn't need a man. I mean, I never wanted to get married, but we'll discuss that, as we get into this topic. So I created Tea Time with Tia as a platform to empower women, but I want to switch it up a bit, right? I want to talk to men. And women, it's still going to empower us, right? Because now we're going to be equipped with more information than what we had previously. So just hang on, women. I want to provide a platform as well as a safe space for our men to share their perspectives on how they navigate this thing called life, being a man. Okay, let me give you guys a scripture because that's what I do. Proverbs 4 and 7 says, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And with all thy getting, get understanding. So today's Tea Time with Tia topic is understanding man. Come on. I mean, I'm so excited. I have a special guest that I want to introduce to my Tea Time with Tia audience, and I'm going to bring him on right now. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing sensational. How you doing?
I am doing amazing. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our Tea Time with Tia audience?
Okay. My name is Kevin Reed. I'm a licensed social worker in the District of Columbia in Maryland. I've been practicing social work I've been licensed for 6 years. I've been in the field of serving others for over 15 years.
Okay, this is good. This is good. So, Kevin, I'm not sure if you heard my intro, and I was sharing with the audience that, I am a mom. I mean, I'm a wife as well as a mother of three sons. And in raising, my sons and also being married 20 years, whoo, dang, I'm an OG in this game. 20 years of marriage. There is a communication gap, or there is a lack of understanding, a ignorance, if you will. And I feel like if I am feeling this way, then I think maybe some other people are feeling this way. Other women are feeling like there's this gap in the communication and how men and women, relate or deal with each other. I honestly can say I don't really recall, giving any advice about men. I think like what is it, a saying that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach? That's probably the extent of how, I was prepared to deal with or be in a relationship with a man. So, what I want you to do, I want you to give us your expert uh perspective on being a man, and how does that look, and whatever you can give us that'll help us understand how we can bridge this gap. Um, but before you do that, just tell us like a little bit about yourself. Are you a native Washingtonian? Did you grow up in a two-parent household? What is your birth order? Like, give us some tea.
I'm a proud Washingtonian. I grew up in Northeast Washington, D.C. Um, I also have a PhD in School of Hard Knocks. So go along with the education. So it's dualistic. Um, so I did grow up in Northeast, neighborhood in Northeast, Clay Terrace, if you want to say that.
Okay.
So I didn't grow up with my father at all. Never even knew him. Most individuals in my environment didn't know their father either. Only a few, but those few dads did make a difference. But it's been a continuous trend through the educational background. I had the privilege of working in a fatherhood program in Prince George's County, Maryland, with the George's County government. It's called the Adams House, located in Suitland. There, I was like a fatherhood advocate, where I had worked with different variety of age ranges of men who were in a child support system in Maryland. So I sat in child support court through my undergraduate experience for 1 year, completely like every Wednesday or twice a week. So I got firsthand experience from other men how they deal with things and navigated things, as well as along with my empirical experience of growing up in a underprivileged neighborhood, I would say.
Okay. We're gonna get back to the background. You said that you are a licensed, was it a social worker?
Yes, I'm a licensed social worker. Yep, and also a psychotherapist as well.
Okay.
So
So
both
what
of them intertwine.
what led you to pursue that career path?
It chose me. So for most of my early adolescence, young adulthood, I lived an unproductive lifestyle. At some point, I always had a relationship with God. So I gotta include that. That's the most important thing. Even throughout my years of being in the street, always prayed and always had this very intimate relationship with God. So when my time was up, my time was up. So I made a promise to myself, um, nothing past 25 as it related to the street. I went a year over. A good friend of mine, a female actually, who had invited me to church, an experience that helped save my life. Was very instrumental with driving that thought. Hey, it's 25, homie. What you gonna do? So
So you verbalized that to someone that 25 was your cutoff.
cut off, win, lose, or draw, and she helped keep me accountable to that. So I'm very thankful for her for that. So when my time was up, when I left the street, I left my own way. People always say dead or in jail.
Mhm.
Now I'm living proof that it's another route. You just have to make your choice up. So I wasn't forced out the street. I wouldn't, nothing like that. It was a God conscious choice. And also with me wanting to be a responsible father, keyword, responsible father in my young child life.
Okay, so at 25, you already had a child?
Yes, I did.
What age?
So I believe Kevin was born in 2005. So I believe I was like 20 or 21 or something when he was born. So he was around like 5. So most of the time, when I was in the street, it was challenging, because I was missing out on time with my son. When my son would call me, I would be in different places doing different things. and wasn't giving him that quality time of value that he needed. So that played a huge part as well. And also pondering the thought, one bad choice could cost me 10 or 15 years of my life, the way that I was moving, because I just was moving differently. It wasn't none that was more. So if I crashed, it was at least 10 years or more. And I pondered that thought, how old my son would be by the time I come home or something like that. It just didn't add up. It wasn't worth it. So I
So,
chose those two things.
so would you say at that time, did you prioritize money over spending time, quality time with your son?
I wouldn't say money,
Okay.
so to understand the lifestyle, again, I didn't stand on the corner
Mm.
uh, or anything. And people who know me well, you didn't even really know what I did because I moved totally different. But a lot of stuff come with that lifestyle. So it wasn't about money. It's just, it's lost time actually. Your day doesn't start to 11, 12 o'clock and then you're out late and then you're moving. But that's just the cycle that comes with that environment and lifestyle. So it wasn't so much money. It just was really lost time. My
It was
son,
lifestyle.
yeah, it was a lifestyle,
Mm.
monetary wise, he had everything. And not only that, so what it comes along with my son though, too, is I have two daughters that I had married into with that relationship, that I had a privilege to father as well. So my interaction with them and other things also grounded me as well.
And this is all before 25?
Oh yeah, I did a lot. I lived a whole lot of life early, so I was way ahead of my time. Uh, during that time period, during that lifestyle, even at an earlier age. Like so, I was around older adults early, but I also led older adults, being at a younger age, just through my level of maturity streetwise.
Okay, I want to get into just for context sake, your background. You
Hmm.
said that you didn't know your dad, so you
I,
didn't grow up with him. But I'm gonna go back to that. So what age did you start this street lifestyle?
Unproductive lifestyle.
Yeah.
Uh, that's what I'm gonna call it,
Okay.
because that's exactly what it was.
Okay.
To not give it no type of glory or fame, so it's really
Hmm.
unproductive. I said around like the age of 13 or 14.
Okay.
So interesting though. I'm gonna pity back if someone had asked me something as it relates to that the other day in the midst of a conversation, like what led me to do it, and then actually being in it, what kept it going. Um, so one thing is environmental. More is caught than taught. So if you see it every day, you're around it every day, the likelihood of you having that own experience yourself is very high.
It's
Uh,
normalized.
it's normalized. That's why they call a project because it's a project. Um, and because of that, I kind of got caught up into it. But I always had like a hustler mindset. When I was younger, I sold candy. I had thousands of dollars selling candy. I was different. I would save it up. When people thought I was hustling, I wasn't. I was selling candy, me and a couple of my friends. But later on, that same mindset transitioned to something else. And I was so observative when I was young that everyone before me, I paid attention to everyone, um, and how they moved, the ones that did things wisely, the ones that did things stupidly, and
Hmm.
found my spot and said, I create my own path, um, based on my observations to do things differently. And again, and just lead. That's it.
Okay, so let's go back to your foundational years. Did you say if you had any siblings?
Yeah, I do. So I have a older sister that's 12 years older than me, but best friends, my best friend family is considered my family, as well. So it's deeply rooted again in the same environment. We slept in the same twin bed for years, like different stuff like that. So like very close, and his mom became my mom when my mom passed. So my mom passed when I was 17.
Okay.
And again, my sister was 12 years apart, my biological sister, and lived in California. So it's been pretty much me. I was thrust into manhood way before my time. So I missed what a average teenager years would look like because I didn't have those. I was
Mm-hmm.
already in adulthood.
Okay, so this topic, Tea Time with Tia topic is understanding man. And
Uh-huh.
so if we go back and look at your foundational periods, right? You were raised by a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
What did that look like? Because prior to me getting married, I was a single mom of two sons. So my oldest son is Marcel, he's 30. Our middle son is Mike, he's 26. Um, I was with their dad for 8 years, since I was 15 to like 23. So I know that it is very difficult being a single mom. And I grew up in a two-parent household. So this was foreign territory for me, right? I didn't know it. I didn't understand it. I thought that it was unfair for me to raise my kids in a single parent household because I didn't have that. I knew how valuable it was to have a male in the household. And I'll talk a little bit more about, my family dynamic as well. But just being a single mom, I actually had this overwhelming fear just take over me with the realization that I am solely responsible for a human being's life. If I don't work, they don't eat. Every decision I made impacted their life. And so I want to know, with you and your mother and your experience, how was that being raised by a woman and you being a man? Did you feel that communication gap? I know for me, I raised my sons in that small period of time out of fear. I ain't had time for love. I was, I was in Benham Park. You said you grew up in Northeast, so I know you familiar with Benham Park. I was raising my kids and two black boys in Benham Park, and I'm a single mother, and all I was thinking about is my boys becoming a statistic. I did not want them to be a statistic. So I was raising them in fear. I had this crushing sense of overwhelming responsibility. I know that my communication with them wasn't the best. Growing up, it was five of us, four girls and one boy. We had a lot of girl cousins. It probably was like three boy cousins. So not really having that type of, dynamic with the male sex. How was it for you being raised by a single mom as a male?
Thank you. As a male, I was going to say that because I wasn't an adult. Then I was exactly that, a male. So for me, nothing was lost. Here's why, right? Because the absence was already there. So it was like it was nothing that was introduced and removed. The only time that it really came to mind where you see one of your friends with their father, then it really hits like, damn, where's mine? But even where it's mine at, that person father became like a father. So within that, um, credit to my mother, she did the best she could, but the streets raised me. So with that, the fathers that were there, though, the value was there. So like again, I grew up in a very rough environment. So when we were younger, we would fight. So that's how me and my best friend became friends. It was
Mm.
actually, I mean, I don't know how old we were, six, I don't know what the age was, but we were fighting. And from that fight, after the fight, after it was broke up, his stepfather was there and the other fathers, we shook hands and now y'all talking and we became best friends ever since. So those fathers too, and one of the fathers, my friend father, Stay Henry, rest his soul. he kept boxing gloves in the back of his car. So every time we would come around, whoever had a difference, well, we would put the gloves on. But then we would be friends right afterwards. So it was different. But that's how bonds was made, and that's what it looked like through my lens. So like, as far as my mother, she did the best she could with providing love and empathy and protection. But uh, the streets and part played a part. My environment played a huge part. But respect was always there when I grew up. It was a big thing.
Okay. So you didn't feel like, well, you said there wasn't a void there because that was all you knew. And plus you had, males.
I had other male figures. So
Yeah.
again, yeah, and I always hung around older people. Like again, I always had, from a street perspective, soaked up a lot of game and had a lot of wisdom from different perspectives bestowed upon me, just how I moved and carried myself. Uh, you know, to attribute to like a lot of people in my neighborhood and the older people, they speak very well of me, or just how I carry myself. All of them always say they seen something different in me.
Yeah.
Every last one. So you just learn how to navigate those things. Is there a void there? Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that goes hand in hand with probably your perspective, with what you said about your perspective on men, right? And the question come back to you: where was your dad, right? So to have that not be there or modeled in front of you, right? It's easy. It's kind of how do you think you develop your perspective?
No, my dad was there, but him being there is how I developed that perspective. My mom and dad was married for 18 years before they got a divorce. They got a divorce when I was entering into high school.
Hmm.
And so their dynamic was kind of different. My mom was the worker, she was the provider, but my dad knew how to raise kids. So he was the one that would go up to the schools. He would help us with homework. He would walk us to school. He would teach us, table manners. He made sure that we were properly groomed. He taught us how to clean. So their dynamic was different than non-traditional because he was more of the hands-on and rearing the kids, and my mother was more so the worker. She provided. My dad is also an ex-Vietnam vet, so he suffered PTSD. I believe he had PTSD before he even went into the military, just from his upbringing. um, and he was starting to write a book, a couple of years prior to him passing away, and he was, you know, describing some of the trauma that he experienced. But long story short, my dad was good with raising kids. He just wasn't a great husband. And so I can speak for my other two siblings, not my youngest one. She's 10 years younger than I am. So she came later. It was really the four kids. Tarina's like, that's our baby girl. She came 10 years later, but I grew up in a domestic violence household. So I saw my dad, physically abuse my mom. And so that's where my negative mindset or perspective came about men. Just seeing my mother working hard as she was, and just seeing how he was treating her. Now mind you, we don't have all of the information at this age. Later on when we get older, things start to make sense. But I can say even me and my other two sisters, we all kind of have this uh disrespectful outlook on men. And I mean, and even as far as dating, like I really have not had anybody to change my mind. My husband is a wonderful husband. But it could be the Virgo in me. I'm a little critical. I got some high standards, some high expectation. You do one thing and it's like everything go down. But But that's how my mindset came, where I really didn't think highly. Even dealing with my older two sons, dad, we was together 8 years, and I was like, this joker, I mean, he the one that made me not want to ever love again. I said I would never love another man with my heart. I'll love him with my head, but never with my heart. So, but yeah,
That
we'll
makes sense. You know,
I
that
wasn't willing to risk my heart like that.
that's I mean, but that's biblical. But we learn that as we go. The word of God says, "Guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it comes the issues of life." So it's wisdom, not really hardness of the heart, because you open yourself up to marry again.
I did, well, I that's the story too. I'll share.
Yeah, you know. So we'll stay on topic. Go ahead. I'm listening to you.
Okay, so I wanna run down some statistics for you. And again, you said you grew up in Northeast, but Minnesota Avenue. One day I was driving, this wasn't too long ago, driving Minnesota Avenue, and I see all these men out there just
Hmm.
like hanging out on the streets. Some could have been homeless, some could have just been, chilling, hanging out. But I was like, this is where everybody's daddies are.
I mean, a certain age group, daddies.
Yeah, I'm like, this is where everybody's daddies are. Why are these men out of the household? And even the double back, and I'll read the statistics, but I think my dad, he left the household at the wrong time. Like my dad was really strict. We could not date. We could not have boys have our telephone number. Like he was a gatekeeper. And so I think that at the time of me going to high school, that was like the worst time for my dad to, lose his position. And I want to talk about that a little bit. But here's some statistics: men are 41% more likely to die before age 65 than women. Men are 4 times more likely to die by suicide than women. Men are more likely to smoke, drink too much alcohol, and delay screenings and doctor's visits. Men are at greater risk of heart disease, cancer, stroke, and HIV/AIDS. Why is that? Is it hard being a man?
One word, as you said, all that. Two words actually: stress and lack of knowledge, right? And then the third one can be, lack of knowing yourself. So all three play a part in it. But stress is a huge contributor, because in most urban environments, right, manhood is distorted of what it looked like, or what a masculine man should look like and be. Um, be tough, don't cry, don't be vulnerable. But when you do that, right, you store all this stuff up inside of you, right, and the body keeps the score. Then the
Mm-hmm.
next thing you know, right, you got high blood pressure, you got diabetes, you got other things. It's just related to stress, right? So when the body is super stressed, and it's the clinical part coming out inside of it, your body doesn't produce glucose, I mean, insulin, right? So then you develop diabetes. You can have the best diet in the United States of America, right? But if the stress is high, you develop the blood sugar issues, and then you restrict blood flow, oxygen through the body, right? So then that's where the stress come in with the high blood pressure, and then early deaths amongst especially African American males. So stress is a huge contributor, and a lot of it is related to lifestyle and unresolved internal issues,
Right.
right?
One of your other things you said was lack of understanding.
Yeah, lack of understanding. So a lack of knowledge,
Lack
right?
of
And that understanding is a far way away, right? But first you gotta start with knowledge, right? Exposure. And that exposure comes through your peer group. It starts there before you even venture out, unless you had that type of mindset to venture out and expose yourself with other groups and communities to open yourself up to something different. To be like, hey, it's a whole world out here bigger than me. Um, and you challenge your paradigms, right, through information that you introduce to. So that's the lack of knowledge piece, lack of understanding. Oh, and the other one is knowing yourself.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So
you
with,
can't know yourself if your daddy ain't home.
I mean, you can know yourself though.
Then you got
So
a hill to climb.
yeah, you got a hill to climb, and that's what the spiritual part made up. So right, in our work, in my line of work, when we do assessments, right, it's called a biopsychosocial spiritual assessment. They just add a cultural piece in. So all those domains make up the whole person: bio, psycho, social, spiritual, make up who you are, right? Bio, your background, how you was brought up,
Mm-hmm.
social, what social groups are you getting any social interaction? Bio, psycho, social, uh, and then your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
The psyche, and people confuse. I gotta make this very clear because people confuse mental illness with mental health. They are two separate things. Mental health is sort of like the same thing as physical health. When you go to the gym and you work out and you do different things, the mind with mental and health, how are you conditioning your mind? What are you doing? What are you reading? What are you watching?
Mm-hmm.
Um, how are you nourishing your mind? So they're two separate pieces. So biopsycho, social, and then the spiritual piece. Everyone should have some form of spirituality in their life. I believe. Now, who you believe in is God. That's your personal preference and your personal business. But you should have a spiritual compass to guide you, right? Unless you definitely gonna come up short because you're gonna lean to your own understanding,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the troublemaker.
So why do you think that and I don't want to say this, I mean, just for lack of a better term to use, why does it appear that it's easy for men to leave the house, to leave their families?
That's a false nerve. So let's chase it down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's
I
most
seen all them daddies on Minnesota Avenue.
and I believe it's true. So I'm gonna share experience with you that I had at the Adams house. So they had a weekly fatherhood meeting where the men had to come together and sit through a life a lifestyles group, right? With just different speakers coming and everything. So one of the facilitators who ran the program, actually Bill Hall, great man. Um, he had asked the man, how many of you see your children every day? And there was about 60 people in there, like in one little room, and said every single day of the week. Four men raised their hand out of the 60, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he had said, how many of you see your child 3 times a week? Went up to five. The next thing he had asked him, how many of you had your father in your life 7 days a week as a child? Three. All these men are in child support court and trying to navigate the system. So part of it, accountability wise, is poor choices with the men thinking with their penis and
Mm-hmm.
getting put in a situation that they was thinking with exactly that and not really applying thought to their circumstances and the consequences. The choice is yours, but the consequences is not.
That's the truth.
So with that, we're a byproduct of our choices, and again, lack of knowledge. We don't always make the best ones. But far as why men leave the home, one, knowing yourself, a lack of self accountability, and a strong peer group that can hold you accountable, whether it's one or two confidants that you could really trust in and confide in, and hey, let me run this by you and get some transparency and feedback. But a lot of men like that; they don't have those type of relationships.
Okay. So even when you were just talking about child support, right? There's this narrative on social media about Black women aren't protected.
What does that mean? Help me understand. Protected how?
Listen, I'm gonna do my best because I don't share those sentiments. But I'll do my best in summing it up, I guess, on where they're coming from. I think they're saying like black men can talk about women, or maybe, I don't know, cheat, abuse. I don't know. I can't. Maybe I shouldn't even try to do it. I'm gonna do it a disservice because I don't know. I don't really agree with that. But I guess the notion is that they like at the bottom of the food chain, that nobody really speaks up for them or come to their rescue or things of that nature. But I mean, I feel, and again, I could be wrong, but I feel like men are unprotected. I mean, like even when you're talking about child support, and then also if you think about even when a woman get pregnant, the man don't have no say so.
Oh, it's awful.
Child custody issue. It's like the mom is getting the baby.
It's awful. It's awful. It's awful.
It's like, who is out here vouching for the men? The men got, I mean, I used to say I wouldn't want to be a man. I just wouldn't want to be a man. So, I mean, I don't know. Do you feel that way as a male, that men aren't protected?
Yeah, I mean, especially through my experience in child support court, I think throughout my experience, I can't even name how many people, men came through there daily. But there were 3 women throughout that process that were on child support. But the bias was just awful. They wouldn't treat it like the men were at all, or held accountable how the men were.
Mhm.
Um, so, but another thing as it relates to relational things, and this is biblical, but the principle of it is love and respect. A man most deepest desire is respect. In order for him to really feed that woman or give her the emotional nourishment and protection that she needs, he needs to feel respected. And this is a cycle. And a woman needs to feel love. So if the man is not feeling respected, it's impossible for him to give the woman the love that she needs, right? To meet her level of love language. And it goes the other way as well. If um if the woman is not feeling love, right, and protected, or whatever her love language is, it's kind of impossible for her to respect that man. Because of that, that's where all the communication come in and all these other things. But the principal core of it all is love and respect, and the cycle of it. We kind of go in reverse because the man might feel emotionally burnt out, and then boom, he can't give her the love that she needs because he's, as we go back, pivot to the stress piece. He's
Mhm.
stressed, he's overwhelmed, he's suppressing everything.
Ain't nobody asking him how
Ain't
he.
nobody asking him how he
Yeah.
feel. And a woman that's the closest thing to her, he will want to give it to her, but she's gonna respond from her emotions. She's an emotional being. She is should be met with the same level of care that she gives out as far as nourishing, right? And that's how the man loves the woman. So that's the adverse side of it. On the healthy side of it, if the man is giving that woman love the way that she desires and
Mhm.
speak her love language, oh, the respect gonna be at the highest level. You
Mhm.
said something about eating, the food gonna be done, the clothes gonna be washed, it's gonna be whatever, you and he keeping them flowers on speed dial at a rotation coming in weekly, or different things. That's her love language. It might be quality time, it might be words of affirmation. But knowing how to meet those needs is important for a man to know. Again, that comes with understanding though.
Mhm.
Um, so
And what
yeah,
is your status? Married, divorced, single?
I am divorced and single. right? Because if you're not married, you're single.
Oh,
So
definitely.
I was married for.
Then come on, Gavin. You
I'm
would.
trying to think here
I
because
know. Wait a minute, because I'm for the audience. You 25. Then you what did you get married at 6?
nah. So I was 25. So actually, when I left the street at the time, um, my former wife, I don't like the word ex-wife,
Mm-hmm.
former wife, um, she became pregnant with
What's
my
wrong with ex-wife?
ex. Just signifies something else. That's a whole nother topic. We'll go
Okay.
deep into that.
Okay.
That's for
Cool.
part two.
Okay.
That's for part
Oh,
two. I'd be glad to come back. But so that was around like 2010. The year my second son was born. We had got married. Together for years before that. Can't count the years, but it was several years that we were together. We got married. Divorced in like 3 years.
what made
But
you want to get married? Did you see marriages growing up?
I never wanted to get married. I really didn't. I got married off of loyalty. I could say I always speak very highly of the other person. I can say that she was very loyal. Um, we had our differences, but
Mm,
her loyalty was the part that kind of won me over more so than love. Just thinking, okay, this person.
she held you down.
That's exactly. I can agree to that. I can agree to that. Through all the heartache that come with the streets, she still was there through that. So me marrying her was a byproduct of that. And also with me changing my life, there was a lot of different influences. Not say uh, that's why I made my decision, but man, you change your life, you God and this and that. You better have a son and all this and that. But in my
So
head,
your
I'm like,
life wasn't changed when you got married.
it
It,
was.
did it change in while you were married?
So my life had changed right before I got married. So I
Oh,
was already transitioning into
okay.
um
Your new creature.
exactly, right? So and then yeah, it didn't work. So it
No.
didn't work out. And we got divorced. From there, though, we had a rotation with our kids. I kept them on certain days of the week, and she had them during the weekends because I think I had worked on the weekends and I was also going to school and traveling back and forth. I was able to make that work, but for the most part, I'm a single parent father too. So let's drive that narrative away,
Hmm.
right? So my boys stay with me uh, full time, and I'm very active in their lives, always have been. So that narrative about fathers not be there, I'm the voice they hearken to. Even my girls. So very involved in their life, always have been, always kept my commitment to that, even though the relationship had dissolved with mom. So that's what character come in. So all these different negative narratives, the key thing that's involved with all of it is a choice.
There you go.
you
I,
know, they ain't gonna make no excuses here. So you either going to, I don't want to use the word manna, but step up to your responsibility. So a lot of men I see, and speaking in full transparency, lack accountability to their responsibilities. And that's just not kids. That's on how they manage a lot of different things,
mm,
their finances, everything. But a lot of people are on survival. So and want to get caught up in somebody else's lifestyle instead of living the life that they have that they could be accountable to.
yeah, I want to make it clear just while I just thought about this. This tea time with Tia is not victimizing men. We are not um, putting men as victims. This platform is just literally understanding the man mindset, um, the things that they encounter. Um, like he was talking about the stresses that they don't verbalize or communicate, just upbringing on how they were raised to man up, be strong, don't cry. Kevin, you said it brilliantly that what was your word? It takes a toll on the inside. When you don't
Absolutely.
express it outwardly, it is doing something inwardly. And I want to share this song with you. Um, and then I want to read some of the comments. This is something new I'm doing. I'm gonna try to share my screen. Um, but give me a second.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Can you see it? Can you see my screen, Kevin?
I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home. Too much pressure on my shoulders, it gets tough to be the person bringing in the bread and be the lover that you need for self-care. Yeah, I had to let go. I'd be lying if I told you that it never takes a toll. My mind, I need someone to save me, but I have to be the one who's saving you. When you're exhausted, I'm the shoulder where you mend. Gotta stay strong, what can I do when I can't hide myself? I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home. I know a lot of men don't feel the same, but I don't feel ashamed, letting the water fall when my heart's ablaze. Daddy taught me that was how to put a fire out. So when I'm hurting, I don't mind to cry my eyes out. I only have a few examples of a man in my life, and only one who made perfection lifelike. So I try to remember 2 words when I don't know what to do. Don't forget Jesus wept and brother, so can you. I can't hide my...
It's a good song.
I mean, I wrote down some of the lyrics, but I went to the comment on YouTube, and one guy had expressed in the comments, I asked my wife to listen to this song with me. She did look at me and said, "You don't understand the struggles of women." It broke me. All I wanted was her to say, "I got you, babe."
Pause.
Mm-hmm.
So key part, right? We can't shake this part, right? So what he was looking for was respect,
Mm-hmm.
some level of form of honor, right? If he can get that, and it's not a lot, but it's a hell of a deposit. It's a huge deposit. Like for every woman that ever watches this, right? Especially for the ones that are married, right? If you can nourish your man with that one thing called respect, your life, your relationship will forever change, right? Because he's going to go to a whole nother level, right, to meet your needs, right, in a way that he can support you because you support him. So, right, it's that respect thing. Now, thinking about what you said, do you think that statement gave him a level of respect? Right? So if he don't get that, there's no trust. So now I can't even trust her with a simple conversation. The next time I want to express one and be vulnerable, right? And open myself up like I just did. Now I lack trust, right? It's either 2 things. And I love the word, I love opposites, either trust or mistrust.
Mm-hmm.
There's no middle, right?
I'm telling you, we are women, we are guilty of it. I'm going to be honest enough to say it. You know, even my youngest son, he's 18, right? He started to date or whatever, but he even comes to realize, he like, Mom, I don't even understand why she asked me something because it's going to be her way. So I don't even say anything. He said, I just let her believe that she's right. And I just don't say nothing just for the sake of argument. And I'm
Wow.
like, wow. Like, I mean, for him to get that at 18,
He's gonna be all right.
yeah, he's like, but society teach men a happy wife, happy life. My 30-year-old son is married, been married for 7 years, and he said, Mom, I don't subscribe to that. And I said, good for you. We gotta break some of this
That's
toxic.
that's the part. I mean, that's a huge part. So now that void, like the song has said, we all have these voids, right, within inside of us. That's that place of truly the only safe place that we have. Is, is a relationship with God. That's
Yeah,
that
that
true
was one
safe.
of my questions. Do you
Yeah,
take a safe
yeah.
space?
That's yes, I do. But you got to know how to. You got to know how to find it. So after I had got divorced, I had took 2 years to myself. I was celibate for 2.5 years. Um, I fasted for 40 days. I didn't eat anything. I lost so much weight, people thought I was driven crazy. But I met God like I never met God.
You had that sauce.
Yeah. But but the crazy part is I felt the best I ever felt in my life. Unbelievable. The sleep quality was phenomenal. Um, the peace of mind was phenomenal. I did tremendous things during that time, being very busy, but God was redeeming the time that I lost no time, right? And the intimacy was there where I would do these things in the midst, I would call them fading to black. And it would actually just be me spending personal time with God and myself. And that's
Mm-hmm.
that part of saying, get to know thyself. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of this wisdom on this end came through that season in my life where I didn't want to just run out and reconnect with any type of woman. I had my boys that was looking up to me and other things that played a huge part with how I was raising them and how to move. And then also, even with my former partner, I had to be mindful of the words I say in public about her and in private.
Mm-hmm.
That I always held her at a high esteem. But
Mm-hmm.
that took God.
Yeah.
No other way
Your flesh wouldn't have did that at all. I
at
mean,
all.
yeah, I mean, this is good. I want to hit on some hot topics. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's so much that I want to
We
discuss.
can have a part two.
I know.
Let's
So
go where you want to go.
I'm just gonna flow, right? So one of the hot topics that I wanted to talk about on social media, they saying that men are the new women.
Oh,
So, right. So I'm 51. My husband's 53. We come from a generation of, men just built different than these new generation men, right? But because I am acknowledging my lack of understanding about men, I'm open. I don't have any preconceived anything. So when I hear something, I don't let my generational upbringing make me form a decision, right? So I said to my husband, what do you think about men are the new women? And he was like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, they saying that men want to be treated like women. They want to be flued out. They want to be treated out to eat. They want their haircuts to be paid for. And my husband immediately, nah, no real man don't do that. And I was like, well, hold up, wait a minute, huh? You just quick to jump on that. Allow yourself to be open. Let's just be open. So I called our 18-year-old in here and he started to explain. And I said, I said, if I can look at this in a different way, men are the new women, maybe that'll cut down on some of this PTSD. Maybe that'll cut down on them feeling like they gotta carry the weight of the world on their shoulders. Maybe they saying, well, look, I need to be pampered like you need to be pampered, right? Because you think about it, men have been taught happy wife, happy life. Make sure the woman's taken care of, but nobody's taking care of the man. So I'm looking at men out of new women like these little youngins saying, nah, I want to be flued out. I want to be treated nice. I want to be loved just like you want to be loved. I want to be treated right. So I didn't take a negative slant on it. But my son Mason, he came in and was saying, well, Mom, because I'm a stay-at-home wife, my husband is our sole provider. So he was like, Mom, but them girls not like you. He said they don't know how to cook, they don't know how to do nothing. So while we spending all our money on dates and getting their nails done and their eyelashes done, he said they ain't got nothing to offer. He said, what are we getting in return? And so my husband had to sit and listen. I said, yeah, that's why sometimes you can take that old mindset, and just because that's all you know don't mean that there's all to know.
That's the part we spoke of earlier about exposure, right? Now, that's a certain class of people and certain class of behavior. I don't think it fits the whole. But for the most part, for the young men that do think that way, I think it's healthy, right? Because it gets to open up different dialogues, though, right? When Because if you don't, then abuse is inevitable, right? If you started something and it looks that way, but it goes back to that thing. If that young man is pouring in, it should be in return some type of something, right? It's not to be expected to cut their hair or do nothing like that. But if a woman want to show, hey, I want, how they say, my man, my man. I want to be my man, my man. There's nothing absolutely wrong with that. Now, should a man expect it? No. Now, if it's done out of good faith, then so it be. Like I say, I remember, again, credit to my former wife. Like, she was different. Like, early on, like, I spoiled her. Like, again, I was that provider. It was just like, it was never nothing about nothing. But then at the same time, if we were going to a social outing or something like that, she paid so attention so well. I come back home, fresh Prada loafers and just everything, and just all the everything cut to a T, as if I went in the measuring room and got it done. But that was all her, and just paying attention. And because of that, like, I'm gonna fly this thing back very well, but it made me feel appreciated. Different things that I asked, absolutely not. But at the same time, what's my level of showing love the way that she desired it? Was it there? Absolutely. And again, this was before marriage. This was the street person guy. But that's not wrong. But then there's another side to your question. Some men are a little too zesty.
Yeah.
I believe, a little too zesty, and that's a whole nother topic. And I think that part goes in hand with, there's a difference between a man and an adult male.
Yeah.
It's two different things. They cannot be compared.
Okay, let me see. Oh, talk about spirituality. You kind of touched on it, but if you want to share, like, how did you get to know Christ? What brought on your relationship with him?
Honesty, transparency with him. In my years in the street, right? Amazingly, I used to pray every day. After my mom had passed in a broken place.
Was that taught, you praying, or was that just?
No, I was always there. So a lot of different things. Yeah, it was taught.
Did you grow up in church?
Yeah, church, but more so relationships. Different. I got a lot of spiritual moms, and a lot of moms prayed for me. Thank God. And the power of it, and just understanding the power of how to pray. I think there's a difference between religion and spirituality. My focus is an intimate relationship with God. That's
Mhm.
that honesty. So I used to pray. I have a ton of money. High, drunk from last night. Lord, forgive me for what I do. I know what I do is wrong, but I hope soon to change one day. But it was that honesty, that got me further in my relationship. And then when it was my time was up, he let me know my time was up. And a critical choice had to be made on which direction I was going to choose. And I chose him. I left everything, completely everything. When I left the street, people thought I was crazy. They ain't hear from me. I just disappeared. People owed me money. They was looking for me, like trying to give them this money and different things. And people finding me, and I'm saying like, "Nah, you don't owe me nothing." And shaking your hand. They like, he is tripping, right? But it was just me trusting that thing to say, God, if I'm going to have to trust you with this, I'm going to have to trust you with this, because I thought it was impossible to live um, what's considered a normal life and not sell drugs, because I seen how people worked and they struggled. I was like, that ain't it. Honestly, I just never thought it would work. And again, all the years from 14 to 25, everything was open hand to buy and whatever. It was never second thought about paying rent or bills. That was the last thing,
Mhm.
very last. It wasn't even a thought. So, yeah, but just being honest with God. That's all He's looking for. I think the religion part of gets you trying to get caught up to be something else, right? And try to transform to something else.
Fit in,
No,
put a
fit,
mask, act
fit
a certain
in
dress, talk a certain way.
and all this and that. So, like again, the female that took me to church, I remember the Ron Cloud. I went to the Soul Factory for several years. I've
Mm.
met one of my dear closest confidants, friend, brother, everything. And strangely, when we first met, I as we talked to each other, he let me know right then and there. He said, regardless of where this goes, I just want you to keep this in mind that, we have a relationship forever. It's not about this building.
Right.
And he even started his own church and everything. People thought I would join and this and that but now it's the relationship. And we speak every day. We pray every morning at 9 o'clock. We've been doing this for a few years now. So it's about the relationship. And I think people are missing that. And that's how you get to the heart of God, just by being honest, relationship. And that will wake up all the other spiritual things that lead you to go serve and do different things. But you got to get the relationship right. So that's what I believe everyone should have, your
Mm.
own private space. And as I teach my kids, and very on from the onset, like, what's prayer? Talking to God. Can you talk to God in a bathroom? Yes. Can you talk to God while you're just walking? Yes. Can you ask him questions? Absolutely. So
Mhm.
those type of things, we told you can't ask God questions. He's waiting for you to ask him.
He sure is.
He's waiting for you to ask him. And for people that don't know, just for the sake of this, is if you don't know God and you're struggling with your spirituality or your place, ask him this one question. And I'm so glad that we got this. Just ask him, who are you? Show me
Mm.
who you are. I guarantee your life forever change. And
God, he
that's it.
blow their mind.
Absolutely. Ask that question. Be still and say, who are you, God? Show me who you is.
I like
And
this because
yeah,
we're bringing up, different issues and challenges that men face. But I also like the fact that you're giving men solutions. Having that relationship with God. Also, you mentioned accountability, which goes in line with the three things that I'm writing a book on dating. Nah, not really,
mhm.
but sort of, kind of. So it's entitled The Dating Game. Is it helping or hurting? But I'm going to, it's not a how to book. It's a book that's going to provide women with so much information that they can make an intellectual decision as opposed to an emotional one.
Oh,
Um,
that's good. That's great.
yeah.
That's great. While we there, I just got one more thing. I got two
Go ahead.
recommendations.
Mhm.
I've been so blessed by this person, Dr. Miles Monroe.
Yes.
He wrote two books, right? I mean, he wrote a lot of books, but I think everyone should read both, regardless of what gender you are. One
Mm.
is Understanding the Power and Purpose the understanding the purpose and power of woman and understanding the power and purpose of man.
Mm-hmm.
Each should read both. You know, if you're a man, start with the man one, then go on to the woman, and vice versa. For the woman, read the woman, then read the man.
Yeah.
Right? It will blow your mind and forever change your life because your paradigm would expand and you would challenge your own personal belief systems and be like, damn, I was kind of off there because it's
Mm-hmm.
related to God's perspective. And again, your origin as that gender, as a woman and as a man.
Yeah, my pastor has this saying, the power to define is the power to fulfill. If you
Hmm.
can't define it, then you can't be it. If
Hmm.
you don't know what a man is, or a woman, or a husband, or a wife, you can't fulfill that role. And maybe that's why things are hard. Maybe that's why things are difficult. Maybe that's why things are challenging, because the Bible tells us that we perish for a lack of knowledge.
A lack of knowledge, right? Why is it called a man? Why is it called a husband? Why is it, you know what I mean? You know, why is it called a woman and why is it called a wife?
Yeah.
You need understanding, you need
You
knowledge.
assuming these titles and these positions, but don't know the responsibilities.
Talk to me too.
So the three things that I want, women to know and to look for, even when they're pursuing or meeting, not pursuing, but meeting, or they're somebody they're interested in. Number one, you talked about that. Make sure that man have and somebody that they're accountable to. And I say it in simplest form, that you can snitch on them too. Find out whose words have weight in their lives. That you can say, hey, Kevin acting up over here. He is doing X, Y, and Z. Find out if they got somebody that can check them. I mean, a man needs to, I made this saying up. A man should have to go through the hands of another. A man should have to go through a man to get the hand of a woman. A man should have to go through a man to get the hands of a woman.
Hmm.
Women, we ain't equipped
Oh,
to be in these relationships with these men, because men know men. I'm okay. Two, friendships, their friend group, their core. When we was in school, they would tell us that you can tell a lot about how somebody's going to be or end up just by looking at their friend groups. I want to know, what kind of friend are you? How would your friends describe you? Are you the late friend? Are you the, punctual friend? Are you the friend that, everybody depends on? Because we don't get to choose our families, but we get to choose our friends. So if I can see how you're choosing who you're hanging around, who you're spending time with, that stuff rub off. What your
mm.
friend do, that stuff rubs off on you. So I think that if they don't have friends, that's a red flag. Why are they alone? Why are they a loner? Why are they isolated? Why they don't have no friends? You got these questions. And the third thing, and you can, touch on it, is a hobby. What do they do to take care of themselves? What do they do as a outlet or a relief? They need a hobby. What do they do? Do they play golf? Do they dance? What do they do? Because what they say, the idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
ninja just sitting around watching TV, ain't doing nothing, ain't got nothing going on. He gonna be thinking of all kinds of wild, crazy, stupid stuff to get himself involved in. Cause he not being productive.
So guess what it's called though? You talking about the being unproductive. What you just described is what I said earlier as it relates to mental health, right? So me going to the gym, that's taking care of my mental health. Me waking up to pray early in the morning and be still, that's me taking care of my mental health. Me going outside just sunbathing for a couple of minutes, that's me taking care of my mental health. Me prioritizing, and I work with my clients, I call this a power five. Even if you don't read a book, they got Audible, you can listen to it. I call it a power
Mhm.
five for 5 minutes. Find something to read, find something to listen to, just 5 minutes, and see what that do. If you go longer, so it be. But a Power Five, journaling, my God, I can't say enough about it. I got stacks of journals. Even my years in the street, I looking at it
When is
now,
your birthday?
August 25th.
I know we don't do zodiac.
Yeah, well, dudes are, but here's the funny part. I got piles of journals, right? And
Me too.
I don't know what led me to this. I'm gonna say God, right? Because it was preordained. I look back, they're my books of Psalms. It's just me was being full transparent. I look back and laugh. I sent a letter to my sister when I
Hmm.
was young. I had wrote it, and just how it was right. It was so pure, you know, even just the writing of it. With me at a at a stage in my life, I think when I was like 16, she tried to have an intervention to save my life that I was opposed to. I gave her hell for it. And moved me to California, like against my will, and I just fought to get back.
And
Right.
how old were you?
I was 15 actually,
Talking
and I
about against your will. Get your little buddy.
against my will. I was like in the ninth grade. I had just was in a real bad car accident, like going 100 miles, like hit head on with another car, hit a tree. So I had some fractured ribs and all stitches and everything in my head. She was like, come back, me for spring break. And, went in my closet and see like, my, all these Timberlands and Avery Jacks and all these clothes, like, where you get it from? So they tricked me. I'm over in California. I give them hell to get back. But as I get back, I wrote her.
Play church. You want
Yeah, right, right. I wrote her this letter. I think it came years later. But far as me journaling, that probably helped save my life too, because it was an escape through all the demons that was associated with that environment, mistrust, jealousy, all types of things. People that say they love you, talk real bad about you, and put all type of things in your name that goes against your character. It just comes with the street, right? Envy kills. Envy, envy kills. So me navigating it and put on another face, I'm glad that I was able to get my thoughts out
mm-hmm.
and journal. But that came early on. So to speed it up now, I advise my clients to write for 3 pages, just freestyle, no rhyme or reason. And if you go more, you go more, right? No grammar, no punctuations, just write whatever's on your mind. Liberate yourself and feel free and get it out and write it down. It's life changing. So that's part of mental health, a hobby that
Mm-hmm.
I believe all men should do, all people, regardless of what your gender is, but definitely males. If you can't get it out with her, there's another space that you can get it out in. And then you'll come back again. That's knowing yourself as you get that stuff out and you hear those words and you go back. You get more in tune with who you are on the inside, not the facade on the outside,
Mm-hmm.
but who you are on the inside.
Okay, good. So I think you did these men justice. You gave them some tips to help them, I wanted to do something a little fun.
Let's do something a little fun.
Are you on social media?
Nah, I'm not. But for the sake of this, I'm gonna open it back
You
up.
too serious. Yeah, loosen up,
Nah.
man.
So there's a gift. There's a gift to it and there's a curse to it, right? It's
Yeah.
just my street sense. I never been nosy, so I never been concerned about what other people doing. I
I,
never played the catch up, or I always created my own lane of individuality. So I keep that, right? That's my way of protecting myself.
I
Now, I do believe that it's a powerful tool that can be used in beneficial ways, such as this, such as advertising something, selling a product, or putting something out there that's going to impact the world instead of being nosy and gossiping and
Well,
other
that's what
things.
I would ask or recommend or suggest that you get on social media. You can reach the masses. Men need you. I was getting on my husband and another guy at our ministry, and there was this gospel concert. They were using our ministry to host. And when I tell you, look, I'm not politically correct, Kevin, so
Uh-huh.
When I seen all them flaming Cheetos, I don't care. Check who gonna check me. But when I seen all of those gay men, I got this righteous indignation that rose up on the inside of me, and I said, "This y'all fault.
Ah,
This y'all fault. Y'all don't check each other. Y'all ain't y'all brother's keeper. Y'all supposed to say something. It ain't our responsibility as women to be checking no man. Y'all don't check each other. Why all these gay? Look at all these gay men. Y'all won't even open up your mouth and say nothing. Like we gotta go after our brothers." We had another young lady that came to us, and husband just up and disappeared. That ninja talking about he going to work. He in another state. So I'm giving her advice. I'm like, girl, call that state and tell them to do a wellness check. So she said, okay. So she do it. They said, oh, he wasn't there. We checked the garage. His car wasn't in there. I'm like, girl, you need to file a missing person. It's like 3 days. I said, girl, file a missing person. Give them all the information. Man, the police track that Bama down. They go to our ministry, church, religion.
yeah, religion.
He go to our ministry, and the police come back and tell her he said he ain't coming back home. That's so. I said, Q, get the number, call him. Y'all gotta go get him. Don't let him think that he not gonna answer to nobody. You just ain't getting away scot free like this. No, check him. Go get him. Call him. If we gotta drive to another state, it's like, what are we willing to do to go after?
I want to say this important thing about marriage, knowing what I know now. For all, please get to know yourself before you enter into something spiritually binding, right?
To
Because
death do you part.
the choice is yours, but the consequences are not. So with us not knowing ourselves or understanding ourselves enough, right? You don't know what you're getting into. Like you said, those roles of a man and a woman. I mean, a man and a husband, right? A wife and a woman. So weigh it heavily. Like consider your choice and understand what you're getting yourself into. I think a lot of people don't. If we look at it from a societal standpoint, where we are now, and social media thing with celebrities, they're not lasting,
Mm-mm.
right? So relationships in all forms go two ways, either inward or they're going to do like this and grow apart.
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing the work to go inward, which requires a key ingredient called forgiveness? Because in the course of time, both parties are going to need it, the husband and the wife. Um, if you don't, then you do like this and you grow apart and you get this term that I just don't like. And it's me, and anyone could challenge it. I'm unhappy. That's solely it. With nothing else, you're unhappy. I don't think whatever you think you're gonna find out is will also make you happy, because that's your own personal choice, right? And happiness defined by me is having something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to come home and look forward to my partner. I just don't want to coexist, right? But if we don't have those emotional things worked out with inside of us, uh, and I think we spoke about this briefly the other day. I spoke with someone briefly about this the other day about over the age of 30 and dating, trying to mate. Most then already had a child. Most then already had their emotional hurts and breakups and heartbreaks. So if you got 2 30-year-olds, you got 60 years of trauma
Yeah.
in combined in one relationship. And if one trigger offsets and look like the past relationship that's unresolved, is now birthed again in a new relationship, and be like, why are you tripping? She ain't never tell you that her heart's still crushed and she's unhealed.
Yeah.
But you connected to that now because you got caught up in the beginning and the fun part. And again, it comes at a high price. So consider your choice. To all that want to get married, just consider your choice. That's my wisdom.
And you definitely better get God,
Oh, you better get God approved. You
because
you get
you can't navigate these waters without.
without him. It's impossible. And
This his plan. This his purpose. This is his shindig. You can make up your own rules if you want to. Your head
yeah,
gonna hurt.
your head gonna get hurt. And through all my experiences that I've been through, at the end of the day, when I'm asked about how do I see myself, I say fallible. That means I'm capable of error.
Mm-hmm.
Don't hold me at such a high esteem, because I haven't evolved there yet. When these eyes close between me and him, the relationship, if he say job well done, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
But up until then, I'm capable of error. I think all men are, all women are. That's where the forgiveness piece comes in. Got to know how to forgive, and we don't. We hold in there. I forgive. He say this craziest thing. I forgive, but I don't forget. You ain't forgiving.
Stupid.
Yeah, you ain't forgiving. But that's a
Okay.
whole nother tea
Yeah,
time.
well, we're gonna talk on a little bit. I'm gonna give us like 10 more minutes, right?
All
I
right.
just want to touch on some hot topics. Um, I think we let's talk about the. I don't even know if I want to do that one, but I want to end with this one. Okay, let me see. What's a
All right.
good one? Do you feel like a man will change for the right woman?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I absolutely. Because you know what? A woman that's healed, right, knows how to nurture that man. Only through my failure, I've read so much books on marriage afterwards, spiritually based books, right? That changed my life and changed my perspective after the fact, that now prepared me for whatever ahead that God is allowing me to choose. Right. And that's the power that I have, the power in my choice. So with seeing that woman that knows how to nurture that man, right? She does exist. That's the healed woman though. The unhealed woman is not prepared for that deep level relationship.
Well, Kevin, that sounds all good, but I was unhealed,
Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
and
So
I'm 20 years in,
but
but
the
I
key
submitted. I submitted my life to God.
I was gonna say you got the key ingredient, right?
Yeah, that's why I say
So
you can't do it without God.
you can't. I was gonna say,
Kind
but
of differ on that.
you
I don't.
got the key. You got the key ingredient. He's full of grace. He's full of grace. He's full of mercy all
Yeah,
day. But will you commit your mind,
yeah,
your spirit? Will you commit it to Him in order for Him to work everything out for you? Other than that, you're gonna be in your flesh, and you're gonna get what your flesh gonna give it to you back.
yeah. You can't do it by yourself. Okay, so with that said, I think. But remember, I'm learning, so I'm gonna lay down my thoughts. I'm gonna let you be the master teacher here.
Come on, we got 8 good minutes. We're gonna make them count.
Okay, so I think that a man know when he meet a woman if he gonna marry her or if he just gonna mess with her. Do you what do you think about that? Cause it don't take no man 10 years to say, okay, I'm gonna marry you. Nah.
I don't think it takes 10 years. I'm gonna speak
Do a
empirically.
man know when he see that woman if he gonna marry her or he gonna mess with her? He already know. This is my thought. I'm saying this. He already know I'm just gonna mess with her.
Well, I don't think men are always thinking that far. Like first, um, I would say for myself, on this latter end, I'm more patient because I know I control my choice.
Hmm.
Right? Like I said, when I'm ready for that next step of intimate relationship, I know, right? But I'm extremely patient. What I found out on the other end, women are not. Women want to know, what are we? What are we doing? What are we doing now? I want to know what your patience look like because I'm gonna need it in the future
Little,
to be sustainable. That's me, Ted. That's
I know
me.
I ain't got no patience.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
I gave
So
my husband 2 years.
see what I'm saying? So, but in that, if y'all working and navigating and other things, and you find out, all right, this is who she is, right? And you know what you're getting yourself into. and you open to working with that, then that's different. But know what you're getting yourself into, right? A lot of times we don't. So even your husband, the feistiness and
He
all the other,
like the
yeah,
toxicity.
it's attracted to him. You know, you want a woman like that with a little something of that. You know what I'm saying? You want that thing. You, like I said, I'm gonna speak from the marriage perspective and stay on the marriage perspective here from my past experience. I admired that part about my partner. She was different in that way. She was feisty, man, in her own way, but it was something that I was also attracted to.
Mhm.
So, but you got to know what you're getting yourself into. You
Do
know,
you want to get married now? Because you
choose
said at
wisely.
first you didn't want to get married.
I didn't. So right now, do I have a real desire for it or looking forward to it? I'm open. I'm not gonna say I close that door and I will leave it right there. Because I don't want to. I don't live in nevers or disqualification or anything.
Right.
I think you should always be open. I think if it presents itself with the right situation, meaning the person that I desire, like I'm gonna pluck your mind. I'm
Yeah.
sorry before I just because marriage is also an investment.
Hmm.
So if you are investing in anything, you're gonna keep up with it. You're gonna make sure that the investment right. You're gonna get a new car. You just ain't gonna just blindly go jump in a new car. You're
So
gonna
you
look
won't
around
pick
it.
your spouse?
Absolutely. So
No.
spiritually, this how I believe it work. The same way in this biblical base. God positioned a woman. Adam looked over. After he woke up, he said, "That's me," because she was close by. She was in his vicinity, right? It says the man that finds. So he looked back. He found it. He saw what it was. He said, "That's bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh.
Yeah.
You calling
He'll
my
lead
wife."
and guide you.
He'll lead and guide you.
You
So
think you picking her. You ain't picking her.
he positions the relationships though.
Hmm.
But you choose. He's not never going to take away our choice,
Oh
but he'll
no.
position it. And if you miss it, you miss it. That's on you. But
Yeah.
it'd be like I position it, and yeah, you choose.
Okay. Okay. Let me do one last one.
One last one.
But see, this one might. Oh, well, maybe we'll do a cliffhanger.
We got four. We got solid four. I'm gonna keep it short.
Okay, this was one of the questions. I went on Shade Room. Shade Room be having like the little hot topics. Do you think this was one of the questions? Do you think a man can love you and cheat on you?
Love his wife and cheat on her.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again,
Them people was in them comments was like,
I,
ain't
I,
no way he don't love you if you did it. Okay, go ahead.
absolutely. Like when you're broken in the inside, right, and you're not receiving whatever you need to receive, that level of respect. And sometimes the sex part, it's the smallest thing. I'm not um promoting it or encouraging it,
Yeah,
but it's
no.
not the worst thing in the world, right? It's an act that somebody chose to do. So most time if a man doing it, he's making that choice, whether consciously or unconsciously. I always say this, and it's a street thing. You stand next to a tree long enough, you'll hump it.
Yeah.
So the more that you entertain this other person, you are opening yourself up for something that you should be giving it to your wife. But your wife is not giving it to you far as listening. That other woman, she can be right there listening, but excuse me, but all she want to do is F you, right? And
Mm.
she don't care about, she ain't got to go home with you. So she going to listen to all the stuff that you want to give to your wife inside, but you don't know unconsciously that you're being intimate with this person and sharing with her something that's only between God and your wife. But you didn't open it up. Now she's tied in and she hits you. Then you realize she say, "I'm busy tonight." Now you gotta go home. Now you feeling guilty. Man, I didn't cheat on my wife for this. I didn't messed up. So yeah, but you could love her and cheat on her at the same time, and it go both ways.
Yeah, I shared with the my tea time audience that I experienced and overcame adultery in my marriage. My husband cheated on me or committed adultery. I'm gonna say commit adultery because he ain't cheat on me; he cheated on himself.
Yeah, really, and honestly, that's between him and God who he
Yeah,
got.
ain't no ownership. I ain't taking no ownership in that.
Nah,
Proverbs 6:32, this was the scripture you were talking about the other day. Whoever commits adultery with a woman lacks understanding. He who does so destroys his own soul. And I was telling you the other day, Kevin, that the hardest words that I had to hear from my husband is when he told me it had nothing to do with you. I was like, wah, 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 wah.
you know, and that's a powerful, that's a powerful thing.
What? So I look, toxicity to you.
Yeah,
It had nothing to do with me. You wasn't thinking about me. You was thinking about yourself. He like, that ain't even what I'm saying. See, you
that
hear
yeah,
from where you are.
yeah. You hear from where you are. You hear from where you are. And since we
He had
speak,
to break that thing down and say
yeah,
it ain't had nothing to do with you.
it didn't. Like men suffer in the inside. Like again, they suffer alone. This is a powerful scripture. That's why I say consider marriage, because he said destroys his own soul. So that's your mind, your will, and your emotions. That's a powerful thing. God said that.
Mm-hmm.
And in my marriage, we speaking in full transparency. When I was married, my wife didn't have to find out that I stepped out on her. I told her. It
You
was
was
one.
good.
It was one of the most painful as days and moments of my life because I seen a part in her that I never seen before. Um, that was so much
Yeah.
and build up in her. But here's the unique part about a wife, and it goes back to like the Bible where Adam said Adam knew his wife. My wife knew me.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife said she already, whatever intuitions was, knew. But for me, it was spiritually connected because I was more disconnected as I participated in those acts. So it came to a point in order for me to be healed, right? Confess your sins and pray for one another. So the brother that I told you about that I prayed with, I told him, and he met me with so much compassion. First thing he said is, "I don't have a heaven or hell to put you in."
Yeah.
And he met me with open arms right there as I told him that I was about to tell my wife this, and he tell me what to do or what not to do. He prayed with me, and I was wrestling with it, tugging on it, tugging on me at different nights, and the way the Holy Spirit had me do it was to be honest with her and pray. She wanted to know why. I told her, and I said it was more spiritually connected with anything because my house was falling apart. Stuff going on with my girls, everything. When you out of whack, everything is out of whack.
I'm telling you.
So consider your choice. That's why I say consider your choice. Know what you're getting into. Find a woman that you could pour into, that she understands your value, and then she could also pour in you also with what you need, which is respect. Like again, if that is flowing well, the likelihood of you stepping out on your wife is low. The brother again, I said I prayed with this is my brother in my like when people say, "Oh man, cheat," and I say, I know two who never have, and then I'm not holding them as perfect people, but
Right.
it's the fear of God and they're conscious enough to know I'd rather go home with my wife.
Yeah.
So I shared intimate conversations with both of these men where they always chose home and didn't even conjure the other thought. Once they conjured and thought it up, they already saw the consequences of it. So it made absolutely no sense.
Listen, I told that to my husband when I first met him. I said, two things don't ever do to me. Don't lie to me and don't cheat on me. Cause I had deal breakers going into this marriage.
Okay,
But
okay.
God had to show me what love really was. Cause I didn't know what love was. Not God love. My love was conditional.
Right, right. That's how we are. That flesh is mean, always coming
And
with
you
something.
do this to me, I'm out. I told him, I said, don't lie because I am so understanding. I love the truth. I love honesty. I don't care how hard, how ugly it is. I love it because you can do something with the truth. You can't do anything with a lie. So I told him, you don't have to lie to me. I'm a teacher. That's my heart. I like to give you a different perspective on things. So I love truth. I told him, don't ever cheat on me. You have never seen anybody do it successfully. So why do it? It destroys families. It tears people apart. It's just something that's stupid to do. I couldn't get that in his mind because, of course, there's traumas, there's other, a whole mentality that's been there prior to my existence. But, just for anybody out there, it's like, man, you have never seen anybody successfully cheat. So why do it? Why
Yeah, I mean, it's
do
a
it?
it's a choice like everything else, at its core. It's just one of those ones that's one is spiritually binding. I can't get past that because the other part is you bring it home to your partner,
Yeah,
unconsciously or unconsciously, whether you know it or not.
yeah.
And the other part I would say with that, I would go back to my premarital counseling with Bishop who did it for us. Um, One of the core things that I took away from is when we had our lesson on forgiveness and the importance of it. He had it he said something about like a flower or something that goes around, and that's what forgiveness is like. Because one day you'll need it, and one day you're going to expect the other person to forgive you, and then one day they're going to need it, right?
Mm,
And they're going to expect you to forgive them. At the core of it, right, when we speak about the love of God, what we believe in, forgiveness, that's why we have a relationship with God, right? It's anchored on love,
yeah.
So if you can't forgive, I'm gonna
Yeah.
say this is though, check yourself before you wreck yourself. you know. So forgiveness is beauty. Forgiveness is like how the seasons change. They don't stay the same. They change and they get beautiful and better. But when you learn how to do it, because forgiveness is for you, not so much for the other person. When you learn how to forgive, you get to release that burden from yourself. And
Yeah.
then the core part is after you go through your forgiveness, you got to forgive yourself so you can live forward.
Yeah, because that shame and guilt and condemnation.
Condemnation, all that, it say your soul. It say he who does so destroys his soul. So
Yeah,
you can't, the soul is so important. Again, I'm gonna go back. I ain't trying to preach to you, but that's your mind, your will,
will
and your
and
emotion.
sense.
Whoo, if those is discombobulated, diabolical, how do you say now? Diabolical, you in
Yeah,
trouble. You double minded and you unstable. So
yeah. I think we're gonna have to continue this conversation. I guess I'm gonna just present this topic, and we can probably talk about it a little later. We've given you guys like so much information. Now it's time to do some application.
there you go.
But I just feel like even with the cheating aspect, like you said, we magnify that. Like that is like death. That is like the ultimate. No, I'm out. The destroyer of marriages. That is like the ultimate. But I wanted to say that like it's like when you hear typically, now women do cheat, right? But we tend to always hear the man cheating.
I'm kind of contrary, but I'm gonna hear you out because we focusing on the men. We're gonna stay
Yeah,
here.
yeah, we focus on the men. So when you hear that a man cheat, right? I feel like, and then it's this narrative that all men cheat and he cheated and it's no excuse for that. I think that we don't deal with it. You understand what I'm
That's
saying? We have this issue that's plaguing marriages, relationships, and if you try to even offer some type of insight, then it's like it's no excuse for why. It's no. We need to understand that the cheating is the surface, it's the symptom, but what's the root? We got to get to the root. And I'm gonna jump over here a little bit. And I told my husband, I said, women, we will give a man a piece of our mind. We will tell them what we think about him, how he's not performing. You won't pay the bills, you barely make enough money to cover this, and you're lousy in bed, and you da 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 da. Women don't understand how they show up in relationships because men don't tell women. Most men.
Most men.
Men won't give that woman and say, well, and it doesn't have to be disrespectful or derogatory, but men will not say things to women that women will say to men. So we don't know that we showing up in our marriages ratchet, or we don't know that we showing up lazy in any old kind of way, because a man ain't gonna say it. He ain't gonna tell us. He ain't gonna say,
That's
baby,
called
you know you a low down trifling woman that don't clean up and don't cook. He ain't gonna say it. So women don't even have a clue
it's
of
not
how
his
they're
nature.
showing up in their relationships. And I'm not blaming the woman for the affair, because you said it. It's a choice. We make a decision, but we don't know the root cause, and we don't even try to explore, because we think that a man think like we think. So if a woman gonna keep treating a man or holding a man to how she is, that this is the gap that I'm trying to bridge. We
But it
gotta stop
goes, it
thinking.
goes, it, it goes back to that thing. It's not in his nature. A man, not an adult male, to respond like a female.
Yeah.
Right? She gonna respond that way. It's part of her makeup. But here's this though, where God also describes a virtuous woman in the Proverbs. Everyone, I'm just work on that. Get on the inside before you get there. But the thing is, the woman that responds and react like that, the question is she showing respect to that man?
Yeah.
And when you don't, he can't get back. He left destroyed and tore down because he want to respond a certain way. A real man that hit a wall with his anger before he even raises his hand at his partner.
That's true.
Right? A man though, not an adult male.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know, an adult male would lose it and react just like her and hit her. Mm-hmm. You know, not having to understand that she's a female.
Your mom ain't nothing. That's why you ain't.
You ain't nothing, right? You ain't hit them niggas like
that's
that.
Why your daddy left your mom.
Your mom and all that, right? So this is one of my favorite quotes. I had to get this. It was from a pastor. I know his name, Pastor Jim. I can't remember his name, but his ministry focuses on marriage, TV. And I thought this was so powerful. He said, hurt is an inescapable fact of life, and we develop a reaction to a reaction that causes us pain.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that. Mm-hmm. So hurt is inescapable. But we live like, I don't want to hurt. You live this life, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
I do not care. You know what I mean? It's an inescapable fact of life. And we develop, though, a reaction to every action that causes us pain. So we need to heal from those reactions.
Yeah.
That causes us pain, right? So we can live forward. And that holds us back. Like I said, I had to take 2.5 years. It was God ordained. Like I said, it added so much enrichment to my life. I'm free agent now. I ain't never had a problem with women. I go and do anything, but I had 2 boys I was raising that was with me, and I showed them something different. And again, always speak highly of their mom, in spite of. That's what I wanted to focus on. You know, so that was my reaction to my pain.
Right.
Instead of, I could have drinking and just went ham and did everything, but I would have destroyed myself in the process.
You know? And them boys.
And them boys. You get what I'm saying? So again, more was caught than was taught. Like my kids, they hearken to my voice because it's a voice that they respect. Not just dad by title, but dad that lives dad, not a father that's on a birth certificate.
Yeah.
But lives dad. So the values that I wanted to set for them was so important to me that I take my time and I choose wisely as I move forward. You know, so it's been a great conversation too.
Mr. Kevin, I thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Teaching me, educating me, helping me to understand just a little bit more about the man. I mean, I hats off, salute to you guys. One of the men was like, "You see the difference how we treated. Look at Father's Day."
Oh man, and just the yeah, just to form that, so man, I believe this to all men, pray.
Yeah,
You know, like I said about the journal entry, it doesn't have to look like anything. That's religion. Pray from where you are. You know, talk however you talk. Talk to God
yeah.
that way. He know everything about you. Just pray. So I end with that for all men.
Just pray, and I'm gonna leave
Just
it
pray.
right there. Okay, thank you so much. This was so good. I
Thank you,
mean,
Ted.
I'm gonna definitely have to bring you back on because I had a whole bunch of notes that I wasn't able to get to, but I think that we did this thing justice. I really do. And
Absolutely.
I pray that this thing will open up people's eyes and ears and give them a hunger and thirst to really bridge this gap because we need each other. We were created for each other. And we don't want to mishandle each other no more.
No more. No
No.
more. So let it. I look forward. So I hope somebody's life is impacted by it. Honestly, just full transparency. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for sharing from where
Yeah.
you are and your perspective. And I'm just glad to be here. Thank you.
All right. Be blessed, you guys. Have a good one. Hit the share button.
Absolutely.